And this is a walk in the woods at midnight where we sort of review and analyze, I guess, horror movies that we, that we just see. There's just sort of like available on platforms that everybody has at home. So no need to go out into the scary world and go to the theater.
The world is scarier than these movies.
I know. That's what I always say. So, so this week we watched
Insidious.
Which is just to kind of give like a very high level overview. It's basically Poltergeist, but set in 2011. So, but with that being said, first of all, Poltergeist is an incredible movie. That's one of my favorites, and I think we should go back and watch that again because it's been years for me. But this was, I think, really effective, and in fact, I jumped. They weren't just jump scares; they were like jump leaps. I was so like, like my whole body was moving. So it was really, I think, effective and creepy, and it gave me the chills. And so I think it hit all of the marks that it kind of needed to. It's not really like an intellectual exercise in anything, but it's so fun. So do you want to give a quick overview, and then maybe we can just describe the plot really loosely?
Sure. Okay. This teacher and his family move into a new house. There's an awful lot of moving in these movies that we watch. They're moving into
attics.
A lot. Yeah, in attics. So they move into a new house, and one of their kids, they have 2 young boys and a brand new baby that does nothing but cry, of course. And I don't know how they get these kids to cry on cue. But they do, and it's really effective because it sets us up a tension in the house already. So their son ventures up into the attic where things start to get misplaced already in this house. She can't find her sheet music, and then all of a sudden it appears in the attic, and she doesn't know how it got there. And her son ventures up into the house, receives a bump on the head because this ladder he was on to turn on the light broke, and he seems okay afterwards. But then he goes into this odd coma where he isn't really in a coma, but he's really not conscious. And like it lasts for at least 3 months, and the doctors don't know what to do with him. So they send him back home, and under like a nurse's care, and they have him on a feeding tube, and all of a sudden things go really weird in the house. Like they go pear-shaped really fast. Like they start seeing things, and things start getting moved, and doors open and close, and lots of odd things start to happen in the house. Unexplained things.
Right. And that, I think, is about the first half of the movie. So I think this movie is an hour and 45 minutes long, I think. And I think that probably, I really enjoyed that first half that you were talking about. And the second half, which I don't know at what point, if this is a spoiler or not. I don't think it is, especially since I already revealed that it's like Poltergeist. But at a certain point, they figure out that because you get to see Deborah Winger come in, in a small part where she's like Patrick, what is his name? You don't like him. Patrick Wilson. Yeah. So she plays his mom. She's very concerned, or
Wait,
plays the grandma.
That's Barbara Hershey.
Barbara Hershey. I said Deborah Winger. Barbara Hershey. Yes. And she's extremely concerned for the son, which is her grandson, which is pretty normal behavior, I think, except it becomes clear that, there's a lot more going on here than than we see initially. You can tell that, you know, I think that it's interesting because these films, a lot of the time, you know, it's like there's a mother-child dynamic going on, which is different, I think, from sometimes the father-child dynamic. And there's always like this women's intuition or something that
See,
goes on.
I didn't pick up on that.
Oh, really?
Not
I
at
felt
all.
like he's sort of, so for me, like he, and a lot of these movies, I feel like kind of go this way where it's like, she's crazy, but it's like, no, she's just really tuned in and she just really knows her child. And, you know, there's always this question, I think, of the woman's sanity. And I think that Patrick Wilson does kind of go along with what she's saying, but he does say several times, like, you know, you're stressed out or it's in your head or whatever. And she has to keep sort of asking him, like, am I going crazy?
The wife?
Mm-hmm. The
Yeah.
wife. And the grandmother character, like, sort of can understand what the mother is going through because she's been through it before, but she's also kind of this other woman figure who kind of goes in and it's like, I don't know, it's weird to me that the women always seem to have this super intuition about what's going on that the
Right.
men don't get. And it's kind of, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's, but it happens in this movie as well as a bunch of other ones. I just wanted to
Right.
kind of mention that little bit.
Mhm.
But so Barbara Hershey, I think, has a really cool part. Sometimes these really I don't know, really great actors or really iconic actors come in, like with Vincent D'Onofrio
Yeah.
in Sinister, which we watched last week. And those sort of always, those little kind of cameo-ish kind of appearances really delight me because they're usually sort of like this big personality and, you know, they kind of steal the show for a little while and it's kind of fun. So, so yeah, so I think that, you know, I don't know if we were going to have to categorize this movie, I would say like hashtag astral plane,
Yeah.
hashtag creepy kid, hashtag demons, hashtag ghosts, hashtag father having to prove his love.
I didn't find the kid uh, that creepy.
That kid who was creepy, who was playing Tiptoe Through the Tulips,
Oh,
though,
now that was weird.
that
That
was weird, and that
Yeah.
was
Okay. That kid was creepy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm overstating it.
There
Maybe
is a
the
creepy
creepy
kid in
ghost.
there. Yeah. No, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That was odd when they had this really nice um, Ludovico Einaudi music playing. He's a favorite of mine. And then the music gets scratched, and all of a sudden it's Tiny Tim playing Tiptoe Through the Tulips. And I thought, that is an odd choice, man. That is the creepiest thing of this movie. All of a sudden to hear Tiny Tim uh, playing while she's out doing something in the house. She puts on her favorite music and it's ripped to Tiny Tim. That was very disturbing.
It really was, and it's funny how, you know, that I'm sorry, but that is kind of a weird ass song. You know, like if you
Yeah.
really kind of think about it. I remember it being kind of this weird thing when I heard it when I was little, and I was like, ugh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is this grown man who's really weird singing? I don't know. But anyway, I think that the way that the way that the director did that really framed it up in that way where it was just like, yikes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
And the guy, the Patrick Wilson did believe his wife enough to, he thought that the house was haunted, and he said, okay, we're moving. If you
yeah.
think the house is haunted, we're moving. And then it turned out, you know, the psychic came in and said, this isn't spoiling it because it says it in the setup for the movie in the description, that the house isn't haunted. That's the son that's haunted, because it says
Hmm.
it in the description that he's like a waypoint through all these weird things to start visiting our our dimension and stuff. I think that's in
Yeah,
the description of the movie.
I think it is.
Yeah,
He's like on basically and we find out later that his father was the same way. Um, they're they have like this ability to like astral project. So he's a lot. He can see. It's like an out of body experience. So he
right.
can see himself sleeping, and he kind of like his conscious mind or whatever goes to this place called, what did they call it?
The further.
The further, yes. And so that's kind of what, that's kind of like what he can do. And so, yeah, so that's almost like the further is almost like a way station for these, you know, thirsty ghosts who just want to, latch on to a human somehow, and they're hungry for life. Like
Yeah.
they just want to, they crave it, and they can smell it, and and so the boy doesn't understand that, like, he's going to this place. But I think it's the grandmother, Barbara Hershey, who first figures this out, because she went through it with her son, the Patrick Wilson, who's
Right.
not, yeah. So that
So
I thought was cool.
do we want to do spoilers from this point on? Do we want to describe our feelings like for the movie and then start going into spoilers for it? Should I write down spoilers?
I think write down spoilers here, because
We're going to start spoiling it.
I think we are, because it's kind of, the thing is that it's sort of like stacked up movie cliches throughout this movie. So they do them very well. But I basically can tell anybody watching this that, like, if you've seen a horror movie, you know at least part of this movie.
Yeah. Okay, so 12, I'll just say 12-minute mark.
Yeah.
Spoilers start happening. Okay. I immediately knew something was going to happen when she first went up in the attic and she put her hand on the ladder and a bit of it broke. I
It was like
knew that,
rotted through.
yeah, I knew that ladder was going to come into play later and someone was going to get hurt on it. And for
Mhm.
sure, that's how the kid got hurt on it. And I was like, they, they shouldn't have telegraphed that so much. They shouldn't have had her break it. Shouldn't he have just gone up it and it gave way? Wouldn't that
Without
have been a
that
better
creepy,
surprise?
I think it would have been. I think that's a great point.
I
And
mean, we just knew it was going to happen.
you did, yeah, you did. Same. And I think it would have been cooler if they might have just taken some of that out. And then, I don't know if it would have it started with just kind of that ominous opening of the door that the boy kind of notices out of the corner of his eye, the door to the attic while he's playing. And that's when he kind of goes up.
Yeah.
Or if just he fell in the attic and they're like, oh my God, we now, he's in this weird coma, and I don't know. But I think there were other things going on at that time, though,
One thing
that
that
were getting weird. Go ahead.
one thing that I noticed when she first went up in the attic that reminded me of Blackcoat's daughter was that there was like a furnace or something up there that
Yes.
spontaneously went on, and she just ignored it and went downstairs. And I thought, that means there's a demon involved. If that furnace all of a sudden went on,
Yes.
that means there's a demon involved somewhere, just like Blackcoat's daughter.
Yeah. And when you see the demon that is actually like the really powerful one that is like has that red face and is like,
Yeah,
that one, I mean, it seems like, because of the red and all the kind of like fire imagery that he has on his face, it's like, there he is.
yeah.
So, yeah, I thought, I love, so a couple of things from the first half of the movie that I really loved were the baby monitor thing.
Yeah, that
That
was creepy.
creeped the hell out of me. That was jump scare central. That one. And then another one that that like woke me up in, you know, in the middle of the night and made me not get up to go to the bathroom was that guy who was like, they're in, I think it's when they're in their new house, like when they've left the other house, moved into this newer house, or different house. She wakes up from a nightmare in her bed. Patrick Wilson sleeping on the couch
Oh
because
yeah.
I think she's pissed at him. I can't remember.
Yeah. He came home late again
Yes,
from
yes.
grading papers.
And not to distract things, but I just did want to mention that if you noticed it when he was at school, they showed him at school in the background, on the blackboard. Did you see that little doodle of Jigsaw?
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, okay, because it's James Wan is the director, and he did that film. And in
Oh,
fact, I think he directed and wrote Saw with the guy who wore the glasses, who is like the ghost hunter who goes in, along with the woman who is
oh,
like the medium or whatever.
oh. Okay.
So
Was that Eli Roth?
no, it wasn't.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't. It was. Wait, am I saying that? Yeah, Saw. Eli Roth,
I think he did
did he
Hostel.
have Hostel? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Similar, yeah. So anyway, getting back to it, the thing that really scared me was she woke up in her bed, middle of the night, obviously awakened from a nightmare. She looks over toward the window and there's a like a balcony, and there's this guy walking back and forth. And
Yeah.
she calls out her husband. She's like, you know, calls out his name because she thinks it's him. And all of a sudden, this guy who's like this weird, rapey guy, he like turns and looks at her. You know, it's like one of those moments when you're watching something and suddenly you're being watching them.
Yeah.
That creeped me out
He was
real
like in
bad.
the room with her all of a
Yeah, he
sudden.
walked back and forth outside, and then suddenly he was in the room, and then
Yeah.
he lunged for her.
That
That
was, I agree. That was very creepy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to cite those two things for sure, as creepy. And so I loved that first half of the movie when there was all of this. Really, the director is so good, I think, because he did The Conjuring too.
Right.
I think he's so good at that slow buildup of tension and stress, and you're just like you really are like just like tensed up, like on the edge of your seat.
Hmm.
I think he's excellent at that. The second halves of his movies, I feel like, I don't know, like maybe they could be a little more subtle. Like when the father, in this movie, so the Patrick Wilson character, when he goes into the further to try to get the son to come home with him, he there are like all of there's like just a ton of like ghosts that come at him, and it's like one scary ghost after another scary ghost after another, and after a while I was just kind of like numb to it because it was coming too fast. But
Oh, okay.
do you know what I mean? And then with The Conjuring, it was similar, I think, where the Lily Taylor character, the mother, character in The Conjuring, she had gotten possessed, and it's sort of just, I don't know, it seemed like it went on just a little too long
Mm.
for me. But I don't know. What did you think? How did you find the further, like inside of there? Like,
I thought it was good and scary. I liked that he found the strength to. I liked that all the imagery that his son was making drawings of all of a
yes.
sudden came together in the further. It all made
Mhm.
sense once that helped him believe more that all the crayon drawings that he was doing made sense. Because all the imagery he started to see in the further. So I thought that was really cool, and that
Mhm.
that really strong demon guy. He found the strength to overcome him and go inside the red door where his son was being held captive. But then there was like super strength demon guy in there that was uh, who was the really strong demon, and I was trying to figure out who was it that was trying to possess. I guess it was the super strong demon guy that was controlling everybody else, that was trying to possess the son.
Yeah.
That's how I tried to figure it out. And he was very strong. They managed to escape from him.
He was so strong that he had his own like office in the further. He was doing something with masks, but he had a whole sort of
Right.
studio with the kid chained up
Exactly.
downstairs. Yeah.
Right. So they, I thought it was okay that they escaped and that they followed the voice of the wife uh, back home. And I thought it was a cool touch that the the doorways got thin, and that the further people started escaping into the real world. That was
Yeah.
pretty scary. I thought that they
Yeah.
were making their way into the real world. Um, so I thought it was a very tense end scene, um, where they made it back just in time uh,
Hmm.
to save everybody from the furthering, all the people coming in, all the dead ghosts trying to make it back into the real world.
Hmm.
Um, they made it back in time. Uh,
Sort of, or did they?
that ending was so awesome because I thought that, I mean, the ending was so awesome because I thought, okay, I just thought the movie was over and it was a happy ending. And then the ending happened and I was like, this movie's awesome. That was so great. I didn't expect that. Whoa, that is great. What a great movie. So that was one where if it was in the theater, I'd have stood up and gone, yes, that was great. I didn't expect that at all.
This director knows what he's doing when it comes to like lining up sequels. You can tell like that when he thinks of a movie in his head, because it has become a franchise, and it's like there are, I think, 3 right now, Insidious movies, and one of them, I believe, features the Black Bride, who was sort of the um, it
Oh,
was who the father was
turned into?
yes, who was turned
Uh-huh.
into, and the ghost who had followed him throughout his childhood until he was able
Oh,
to
yeah.
forget everything.
You're right.
So that was her. And so I believe they tell this, I believe the story like continues with her afterward, or it goes backwards or something, but she's featured in that. And I mean, maybe one of the reasons why he showed so many ghosts and weird stories in the further was because he was like, I can make a story about that and that.
Oh.
And in this one, I mean, the guy's enterprising. You got to give him that. But I do think it worked anyway. Like, I think that it was, I think it worked both ways. Like, it was something that was going to secure sequels, but I think it also it was effective. And
Yeah.
it was tough to see Patrick Wilson like that, because he was sort of like this dad who was kind of like figuring out more and more that he wasn't really in touch with reality when it wasn't his own kind of reality that he wanted to experience.
Right.
Because, and we saw that when the woman who came in, who was the grandmother's friend, who she
Right.
had
The
used,
medium.
the medium, yeah. When she came in, and that was even though this whole second half is right out of Poltergeist, I loved it. I thought she was really effective. She took over the place of that little tiny creepy lady who was like
In
doing
Poltergeist?
in Poltergeist.
Yeah.
I mean, she was, I mean, this woman was, she was, I don't know, I think she was formidable. And the same with the two ghost hunters coming in, and they might have had a larger group of ghost hunters in Poltergeist. I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Yeah. And so I think it was cool because when she was explaining all of this stuff about astral projection and out of body experience and all of this stuff, the father, Patrick Wilson, was kind of like, look, this is insane. I'm not paying you to do some weird thing that doesn't make any sort of sense, until he went up, like you said, and saw his son's drawings where it was like him looking at himself sleeping. It's like me watching myself sleep, or whatever. And the red door and the demon face and all of these things that that the medium had described.
Yeah,
Just
and
sort of like,
his mom telling him, you know, I've dealt with this before because you used to astral travel yourself,
yeah,
and this is when I met Elise the first time. Wasn't her name Elise or whatever the
yeah,
psychic's
it was
name was?
Elise.
Yeah, this is when I met her before, was dealing with you and your astral traveling, and we hypnotized you to forget everything because we didn't want you to. That was the way the witch went away, because they showed him the photos where the witch was in all
Getting
the pictures
closer
with
and
him and
closer.
getting closer and closer. Yeah, now that was good and creepy. That was
Yes.
really scary, seeing the
Yeah.
witch in all the photos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is really cool, I think, especially as a parent. And I don't know if you feel this way too, but whenever you feel like your child is in danger, and it's like they're in danger in a way that you can't control, that I think like raises everybody's hackles, because,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the ultimate sort of metaphor for not being able to protect your kid, because it's just by definition, it's supernatural. So it's totally out of your control.
Right.
There's nothing you can do. And I think of that now because my kid is new, or is like going to a new school, and I worry every day about it. I'm like, how is today? How is today? It's
Yeah,
like, fine. And
exactly.
I'm like, no, it's not. Like, go deep. Like, are you feeling safe? Are you okay? You know. So I kind of glommed onto that too whenever
That's
there's
every
something
kid
like
in America's answer, though. It was fine.
that. Right, I know, I
That
know.
was my answer when when they asked me. It was
Same,
fine.
same, yeah. And I noticed that actually that I tend to do that too, because I don't have things top of mind when people are like, "How are you?" I'm like, "Fine," and then they're like, "No, really, what's going on?" And I'm like, I don't know, let's talk for a while, and then it will maybe come out organically, but I feel like I don't have it. So I started to kind of back off of that a little bit lately, but it's so hard. I really want to know everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
know.
yeah. And that's got to be extra hard now because your daughter has moved out, right?
Yeah, she's 28.
Oh, she's 28. Oh, okay. Okay. I thought she was like 21.
No, no, no. She's 28. She just got a new roommate. She's been in her new job for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months now. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've long since. Well, there's still a leash, sort of, but it's like way long of a leash. I can't
Yeah.
even. She can't even feel it when I tug on it now. But I still have it there just to make me feel better.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I know that that's coming too. And so maybe there's also that sort of thing where you're like, I don't know, like the child is going away, like, I don't know. So there were a lot of feelings that popped up for me that
Mm.
I wasn't expecting, and I couldn't really diagnose until I spent like a couple days away from it, and I was like, where I last felt that feeling
Mm.
was here, so that may just be me
Okay.
projecting my experience onto things, but I felt, yeah, it felt like maybe it wasn't just me. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a good point. Parents as opposed to single or people without kids are going to, and parents of a certain age of a kid are going to experience this movie maybe differently than parents of older kids or
Hmm.
kids of college age kids or something. That's a good point.
Yeah. 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 So it's kind of interesting to think about those things. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But I overall, while I thought the ending was ran a little bit long, like I feel like I would have loved to, if they would have cut it by about 15 minutes or something, maybe, then I think it would have I would have, like I think it would have been cool. I agree with you about the really ham-fisted clue that, like, this like with this ladder and the rotten
Yeah.
step on it. Like, come on, like come on, James Wan. We're a little smarter than that. Like, you don't have to spoon feed it to us. We'll
Yeah.
get it. But overall, I thought it was really effective and fun, and I also loved that when like the title card or whatever came up and it was like Insidious and it had that just those crazy violins going, like that really
Yeah.
scared. I was like, oh my God, that's so over the top. I love it. Like, it was
Yeah.
it was great. I loved that. And then they did it again at the end.
Yeah. I
So
thought it was really well done. I
yeah,
loved this movie.
yeah,
And
I did too.
especially the ending. I think the ending made the whole movie much different. The very ending, the end 2 seconds, made the whole movie much different than it would have been had they not put that in there.
Yeah.
It would have been, I think, just a regular old above average movie, but the ending made it so much better. I mean, it
Hmm.
was just wildly great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I give it my highest recommendation. I think people should see it, and I thought it was great. I found it compelling and highly, highly entertaining, and lots of jump scares. No real blood, some bloody clues, but no
Hmm.
real blood. So lots of fun. I had a
Yeah.
blast watching it.
I did too. I agree with you. This movie had so many horror cliches, but they were done, I thought, so well, almost always, that I completely forgave it. It doesn't matter. Like, it was just really effective at building that tension, and it just worked for me. So
Awesome. Good.
yeah,
Well, it sounds like we both liked it a lot.
we did. So we recommend.
Yes, excellent. We both recommend it. So thanks for tuning in. Please feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment for us. We always respond to comments. And this has been a Walk in the Woods at Midnight with Jenny and Jess. And tune in again next week. I don't know what we're going to be watching. We'll have to put our heads together and think about that.
Hmm.
So peace and love. Peace and love. Thank you very much for watching.